Located on Virginia's eastern shore at the mouth of the Chincoteague Bay, Wallops Island is home to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Wallops Flight Facility. Although today the facility supports NASA's scientific research and development of aerospace technology, the area has played an important role in America's history since long before the advent of spaceflight. Wallops' early history was primarily rooted in agriculture. Both Native Americans and European settlers farmed the land.
The King of England gave the property of Wallops Island to a gentleman named John Wallops, who was an early surveyor, an early engineer in the area. And he used the island largely for livestock. The area was used during the Revolutionary War for a small fort, but there was no dwellings on the island until actually the life-saving station was built. That was really the first dwelling that was built out there.
Shipwrecks, due to violent storms, were a major concern during the 18th and 19th centuries. It was difficult and dangerous for other large ships to mount rescue operations. Small, shore-based boats had a much better chance of assisting shipwrecked crews.
And that's what led to the idea of having life-saving stations up and down the eastern seaboard. The Wallops Island life-saving station was right on the beach. And it was a really small little building. It was about the size of a one-car garage, had a small attic above it, and then above that it had a small belfry where somebody could stand and look out. The boats were somewhere between 18 and like 25 feet long, which seems kind of big, but they're really not very big. Barely 6 guys can fit in it rowing to do what they had to do. The real rescue part, the people climbed into this small little covered dinghy, if you will, that was towed behind the rescue boat. They also had a wagon and some horses, and the wagon would actually move the boat to maybe a distant point on the beach if they didn't want to launch right in front of the beach because the rescue needed to be done, say a half a mile or a mile down the beach. It was easier to move the boat by this wagon and horse and go down the beach and then launch it from that point.
The station continued operating into the 20th century. In 1915, the life-saving service became the United States Coast Guard. During this time, Wallops Island also became a popular vacation destination, and locals operated a clubhouse adjacent to the life-saving station.
My grandparents ran the club for several years, and it was a real lively place. People came from the cities and all around, doctors, lawyers, and everything.
The station continued to support the Coast Guard's mission and was operational until 1933, when it was severely damaged by a hurricane.
It began to really get intense on the island. The decision was made to leave, and a Coast Guard guy had me. They said he was one of the larger Coast Guard, strong guy. And as we were leaving, we were the first one to leave, a wave broke through the porch and washed him through the screen and everything and went tumbling down to the ocean. But I'm still here. He still had me when he came up.
A new life-saving station was completed in 1935. It was built farther back from the beach to provide better protection against future storms. The new station was a variation on the standard life-saving station plan, influenced by the colonial revival style of the day. It was considerably larger than the original station, with much more living space for the captain and crew. By 1936, the observation tower and numerous support facilities had been constructed to aid the station's mission. The Coast Guard continued to operate the life-saving station until 1942, when it was transferred to the jurisdiction of the Navy as a result of World War II. The station was decommissioned in 1947, but the main building and observation tower continued to serve a variety of functions, such as housing naval personnel, until it changed hands, this time to NASA. Born out of the space race of the 1950s, NASA came to Wallops Island in 1959.
If you think back to the history that you probably learned in school, the world had started using rockets during that war. And so right after the war, Wallops Island became a site where we really started as a nation to learn, well, how do these things work? What can we use them for? And so the first mission here was to figure out how rockets fly, how to make them effective, how to make them predictable, how to make them useful tools for military purposes, but also for science.
Liftoff of the Antares A1 test mission from the Mars Pad 0A at the Wallops Flight Facility.
So the maturity of the suborbital capabilities here, plus the existence of the range, led to Wallops being an integral part of the nation's spacefaring capability. The most prominent aspect of that, of course, is our work to resupply the International Space Station. All of these capabilities now come together to support a wide variety of our nation's needs.
The life-saving station fell out of use over time, but it remains a significant piece of history. It is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places, both as an example of colonial revival architecture and because of its significance to the history of the Coast Guard. Although the building fell into disrepair over the years, it still stands a silent monument to a time when we struggled to tame the seas, while nearby we reach to the stars.